it's nice because Trade the Pool, you guys have a max daily pause. So, you only get to, once you reach that, your daily pause for the day, then it kind of limits you in a sense, or it kind of stops you and say, hey, that's it for the day. Maybe we kind of need a recheck, gather your thoughts again, wait till tomorrow. There'll be more opportunities. And sometimes, I could spiral, but with that daily pause, it's very helpful, I think. Sometimes you don't have that psychology to be like, okay, you're done for the day.
Welcome everybody to another funded trader of Trade the Pool. Today, Sabrina is with me, a special guest, been with us a few times before. Hey, Sabrina, thanks for
Hey,
coming.
Michael, thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to have you here. Like always, Sabrina, for those of you who didn't see her previous interview, is killing it on the swing account. So we'll talk a little bit about the trading style and everything around the evaluation and the funded phase. How long have you been with us, Sabrina?
I think I started my journey with you guys since September. Yeah, September.
Last year. Yeah. Okay, so roughly 6-7 months. That's a good amount of time, to try to test the water, to test the evaluations, get funded, and everything. Tell me, before we'll dive into the trading part, how do you feel about the full process of being with us, everything that you experienced?
Yeah, so it's definitely been easier on my trading psychology for sure. So compared to when I used to be on a broker account, I would constantly it was hard to be under the PDT rule. So I would constantly be losing my 3 times in a week trade. And mentally, it was kind of draining. Not gonna lie. There were wins, but there were some heavy losses. And so making that switch to trade the pool has been easier for sure on the psychology.
Are you still trading with a broker account?
No, not anymore. No, I completely made that switch already.
Oh, that's incredible feedback, I guess. I hear it all the time from the traders that once you switch it from your own personal capital to trading someone else's capital, it's a whole different story when it comes to your psychology in trading. So that's for sure. Amazing. So, the guys that didn't listen to the previous interview, tell them a little bit about your journey. Where did you start it at first?
At first, I started off with Trade Zero. So I would do a lot of my charting actually on Webull, but then I started off in 2021, I think, and then I paper traded on Webull for about a year until I realized, you know what, this isn't really gonna do anything for me, or it's not gonna feel the same because again, it's still just like fake money.
Yeah.
It's not going to hit the same until I actually invest with my capital. And so I started off with about 3K with 1 year after that 2021. So 2022, I invested about 3K and then wasn't going anywhere. I think was losing, had to invest another 3K in total, had a 6K investment. And by the time 2023 came around, the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, I started to make a lot of money actually. I think I got to about 28K. So
Nice.
enough to go above PDT, but I was still losing. So it would be hard to reward myself. I think that was the biggest problem, right? So you get to be above PDT. You can't really do anything with rewarding yourself because the moment you go under the 25K, then there you go again. Like we have to start over with
Yeah.
having only limited amount of trades. So never got to reward myself, got that 6K investment back, and then after that was able to switch over, recommended by my mentor to trade the pool.
Amazing. I mean, it's so hard to trade your own capital, right? Besides the PDT, the fact that you're risking what you worked hard to save, and now you're losing, especially when you're losing, it's so hard to deal with it later on.
Oh yeah. I think I had
And
some pretty big losses too that I'll never forget that have affected me until this day. Rail Vision in January 2024, that was my biggest loss, like 12K in one
wow,
go.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
painful, no doubt.
it's painful. So it's nice because Trade the Pool, you guys have a max daily pause. So, you only get to, once you reach that your daily pause for the day, then it kind of limits you in a sense, or it kind of stops you and say, hey, that's it for the day. Maybe we kind of need a recheck, gather your thoughts again, wait till tomorrow. There'll be more opportunities. And sometimes, I could spiral, but with that daily pause, it's very helpful, I think. Sometimes you don't have that psychology to be like, okay, you're done for the day. So
Yeah,
it's good.
this is exactly what I experienced when I lost the 100K, 91K.
Oh
And
man.
that was exactly the same thing. You don't have anyone that will be responsible for your
Yeah,
trading besides you, and you're getting
exactly.
into that loop, and that's it. Amazing. Alrighty, so let's talk, a little bit about your strategy, the type of trading you do. What is it exactly?
Yeah, so I'm primarily a short seller, so I'm looking for anything in pre-market that's moving 50% or higher maybe. It'll already have my attention, and I'll narrow it down by that along with the dilution for that ticker, and I'll look at the key levels on the daily chart. And yeah, there isn't much I'm looking at. I don't really have a lot of indicators.
Any fundamental into it, or it's only technical?
Technical and the dilution aspect, but I'm not really looking at
Mhm.
news or anything like that. Yeah, that it doesn't, or any of the order flow, or doesn't really affect how I trade. I think, so yeah, no, yeah, just more technical
More
for the
technical.
most part, and I guess intuition, you could say.
Yeah. And you said 50% up, so it's got to be small caps, penny stocks, right?
Penny stocks, correct? Yes.
You're not going to see Tesla doing
No.
50%.
And the higher percentage, the better, because then you get a better fader, which is what I would really love to see. But, it's not always the case. But the best stocks that I like to see is for sure the one that fades all the way till the end of the market, if not even overnight. And then I like to swing them.
Yeah, and this is something interesting. We talked about it in the previous interview when you said, compared to a lot of our funded traders that are
Mhm.
actually shorting penny stocks on intraday level, you're actually looking to swing them for a day or two, right? So are you keeping everything the full position for a few days, or are you taking partials along the way?
It ultimately depends for sure on my average where I entered in. If my entry is way, way, like, maybe I got it at the top, which is very rare, I guess. I could maybe hold the whole thing overnight, and then, I just have parameters of being able to cover it, making sure I have my stop limit order. And if not, if I do have a lower range or a lower entry, I should say, I might take partials and then just see what I could do with that swing overnight.
And you mentioned you're working with the VWAP. What exactly do you do with it? How do you handle
Yeah,
it?
so like today, for example, I think, although I didn't do so well today, UPXI, it kind of had a little bounce off of VWAP. And then when I do see any type of bounces off VWAP, maybe I'll enter in on a lower high. And so I'll kind of use it as a scaling method for myself.
Mm.
But if it's completely maybe like breaking VWAP, then okay, maybe it might be a signal to get out of the trade. But it helps me kind of understand, okay, are you is it a reversal, or is it maybe just a place where I can go ahead and scale into my position?
Right. And you said, you're finding the top or trying to find the top in order to
Mhm.
short them. How do you know that this is the top, right? This is one of
Y-
the most
You never
common
know.
questions. Yeah.
You ultimately never really know, but on the daily chart, I like to look for those support and resistant levels, like those key levels, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I try my best to enter around those areas. Doesn't always happen. I'm not always as disciplined as I want to be, not as patient as I always want to be, but I do my best to try to enter in those key levels that I see on the daily chart and with proper risk. So of course, again, since we don't know for sure, you just gotta have proper risk. So maybe I'll just risk only like $200 in that area until I realize, okay, this is it. This was the top, this was the proper level, then I'll go ahead and scale in. And if it's not, then I had proper risk management.
Yeah. So it's always starting small, building the position, see that it goes to your favor, and then adding
Correct.
basically. Nice.
Correct.
Alrighty. I'm going to share your dashboard and show the guys at home how it looks like. For those of you not familiar with it, all of our traders get their dashboards and they can actually track the stats and see the progress. So we'll start with the goodies. Here it is. This is your achievement so far. So 15,000 in total, 2 payouts, 4 funded accounts. And that also something that shows, consistency, right?
Mhm.
And the fact that even, and I spoke about it in the previous interviews, even when you reach funded phase and get payouts from time to time, you will
Mhm.
terminate the account. You go
Oh
again.
yeah.
Already familiar with the process, so it's easier to pass it and then reach the target, right?
Yeah, in fact, I'm actually back on an eval because I have already terminated my funded account.
Right.
It's not always easy. You want to get to that consistency level of having a payout, not just getting to a funded account, right? So, of course, that's the initial goal. What your skills are reflected by is if you get that consistent payout. So, I haven't been able, in my opinion, to reach consistency, I feel. I'm doing decent enough to be able to be profitable, but sometimes, there's so many times actually I saw the withdraw button and I never took that withdraw because I said, okay, let me get a better buffer. Let me
Mhm.
make maybe just 1,000 more, 2,000 more. And with that pressure that I put on myself, I just would go completely backwards. So
Wow.
I've actually saw the withdraw button multiple times between November and March. I think maybe at least 3 times of around that 11,700 target. And I said, okay, let me just make 1 or 2 more K. And I never saw daylight ever again.
Wow. That's incredible. It shows,
Yeah,
trading in general. It's so the psychology behind it. It's incredible. And
definitely.
yeah, there is on one end you want to create a buffer to build your buffer so you will have enough, a cushion or a space to play with to work on it. And on
Hmm.
the other end, you got to know when to exit the trade, right? When to
Right,
take your profits. Uh,
right.
so that's kind of the same also on the entire account. So this is one of the accounts you had, the swing 24K. We are working on new programs also for the swing. We just launched a new programs for
Ooh.
the day trade. Yeah, I'm sure you're gonna love it. It's gonna be very interesting one. So definitely check it out. You had a rough start, I guess, at the beginning, and then you found your rhythms, a nice bounce at the end, right? Interesting to see. You are a short seller by heart, as you mentioned, but there are from
Yes.
time to time some buy orders coming in, right?
Yes, sometimes I'm not seasoned or good at these buy orders by any means, but sometimes when it just doesn't feel like a short, maybe I'll try to attempt with lower risk these buys. And sometimes I get it, sometimes it doesn't work. It's something I definitely want to work on and see what I could do with, because it's not always a short market, right?
Yeah,
And I want to be able to have that skill set to be able to play both sides.
exactly. And looking at your stats a little bit, you have a 5.7 on the risk reward. That's amazing. The 23% is a bit low, I guess. Is it something
Yeah.
that you're trying to work on the risk reward of the success rate? How do you do that if you?
I, to be honest, do not really think about it. I think it's something, I definitely could be better at, but I think the risk to reward means a lot more to me. If I'm only going to be making $50, consecutively every day, compared to maybe making or having a better range in my profit, then I think I'd rather take that high risk reward ratio compared to to
The success rate.
the success rate. Yeah. So it's not something I'm really mindful about. I mean, it would be nice to be better at it, right? But I am more focused on my trades. I really try not to even focus on my P&L. I just want to focus on the chart itself.
Yeah.
So whether that gives me maybe just $500 for the day or maybe the 5K in a day, I'm not trying to focus on the P&L. I want to focus more on the chart and whether I executed the chart properly or not.
Yeah, and this is a great tip for especially for the guys that even for the guys that starting basically, try to drop the P&L, literally not
Yeah.
looking at it, right?
Yeah.
Because once you take and this is the beauty of trading with tradethepool or someone else's money. Once you're taking out from the equation the P&L, the trading become much more, I wouldn't say easier, but much more focused toward the real goal, which is
Towards your
trading
edge,
properly.
your strategy.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Amazing. Alrighty, Sabrina. So thanks for coming to this interview. Like always, it's great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I see that you trade in the evaluation, the extra evaluation. So I'm sure you're going to pass it soon. We will probably do another interview later on. Yeah. And yeah, for those of you guys who want to check us out, go to tradethepool.com. Maybe you will be the next guy in line after you get your funded. Alrighty. Thanks so much, Sabrina.
Thank you, Michael.
Bye, guys.